everyone, I'm Shannon and welcome to today's video. Today's video I'm so excited to do, and that is because one of the questions I see asked the most when someone is thinking about buying into DVC is, how many points do I need? And I know for our family, that was one of the questions I had to think about myself, and I kind of had to determine, what does it cost to stay for a week in a one bedroom? What does it cost to stay in a week in a studio? And the answer is it varies, because Old Key West and Riviera are going to be two very, very different point structures. So that is what I'm going to go over today. This is actually going to be a two-part series. Today I'm going to go over studios, and in the next video I'll be going over one bedrooms. So I'm going to go through pretty much every resort at Walt Disney World in the seven. So basically the point structure is there's seven different, I guess you could say, seasons. There used to be 4, now there's 7. They're not named, so I'm just gonna 1 through 7. And I'm going to go over each resort and how many points would it cost to stay in a studio for a week during that season. So that is what I'm going to be going over today. So let's get into it. So first of all of these point charts are available to the public. You can find them on the Disney Vacation Club website. There's a lot of sites that have them as well. So these are all available. But what I'm trying to do is kind of consolidate it, because again, if you're looking to stay at the Grand Floridian in a studio, or you're looking to stay at Old Key West, the points are going to be very, very different. It also depends on the time of year. So for our family, one of the times that we want to travel is our son's birthday. We travel for a week for my son's birthday ever since he was 1. He spent every birthday at Walt Disney World. And so I took that in consideration. Fortunately for us, that's one of the cheapest point-wise to stay during Disney Vacation Club. It also is one of the most popular, so keep that in mind as well. So that is what I'm going to go over today. So I'm going to go over specifically studios, and then like I said, in the next video I will be going over one bedrooms. So for our family, I remember determining, okay, we got enough points for a week in a one bedroom in the kind of lower mid-tier. And then I figured enough points for a 4-night weekend during the year in a studio. So that's kind of what we do. We have some points I've borrowed, I've banked. I mean, I ended up banking a lot last year because of 2020, but that was probably the first time I've banked. Usually I am borrowing a little bit, but I do, for the most part, we have 275 points, and that really works for our family. But again, all these points charts are online. You can take a look at it. It even has it broken down. But what I'm trying to do is kind of compare, Riviera to Old Key West, etc. Also, the tool that I used to gather all this information and make it very, very easy is the My DVC Points app. Now, the My DVC Points app is completely free. And by the way, this is not sponsored. It's just an app that I use. Obviously, my DVC Newscast podcast is a spinoff of My DVC Points, but the app is fantastic. And what you can do is you can choose schedule your trip, and then you can also go in and say stretch or splurge, and that's my favorite feature, because it'll show you all the comparisons in that same category, whether it's a studio or a one bedroom. It'll compare what the different points are. It's going to be less points to stay in a value at Jumbo House, and it's going to be a lot more points to stay at Grand Floridian. So it really gives you a comparison. I love that feature. It's fantastic. I think it makes it so easy. So definitely go, if you're interested in DVC or you are a DVC owner, download that app. It makes it just so easy to determine how many points you need. Okay, so let's get into it. So I have here, I made my little spreadsheet, and what I've done is I've broken it up into sections. So I'm gonna try, and I can't post this on YouTube, but I have my own personal website, shannonford.com, and then /blog. I post all my videos there. So I will try and post this in a PDF on my personal blog, which will just have this video. So if I am able to do that, I've never done that before. If I am able to do that, I will post a link in the description box below. So just keep a lookout for that. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to go through each season. So I'm going to start with 1, which will be the lowest season, and then number 7 is the highest season, and the highest season is typically Easter and Christmas, and the lowest season is the beginning of September because of, school. So that's what I'm going to go over, and I'm going to go over each resort. I'm going to start with Riviera because that is the resort that Disney is actively selling at the moment. And then I'm going to kind of compare, pretty much going from the most part, the lowest to the highest. And the highest is typically either Grand Floridian or Polynesian, depending. And some of the things for Riviera, I'm going to be doing the standard. I'm not going to be doing the tower because there's not that many of them and most people aren't really in the market for a tower. So I'm really kind of going on the room most likely you can get in. So a Riviera standard studio is what I'm going to be giving examples for. The Old Key West Studios, Saratoga Springs standard. Animal Kingdom Lodge, I'm going to be doing the standard studio, so not the Savannah View, so the standard. So obviously the Savannah View will be more. Jambo and Kidani share the same points, so it's not going to be a difference. Boulder Ridge is regular. Copper Creek Villas is the same. Boardwalk Villas, I'm going to be comparing the garden and boardwalk views. And the reason why is because the standard are very, very hard to get into if you don't own there. So I don't want to give a misconception that it's very cheap to get into a boardwalk because it's very hard to get into those standards. You can get in cheaper, but more likely or not, you're going to be paying the garden or boardwalk prices. Beach Club is all one price. Bay Lake Tower 2, I'm also going to be going over the Lake View because the Lake View has the most amount. Standard, again, only has a few amount of studios in that category, so I'm going to be doing the Lake View. And then Grand Floridian, I'll be doing standard, even though it's hard to get into Grand Floridian anyway, so I'm going to be starting at the standard. And the same thing with Poly, it's the standard. That's actually the category that has the most. So those are the breakdowns of the rooms I'm going to be, I didn't want to do every view because it was just going to be too complicated, but this will give you an idea of what it's like. And then if you are interested in let's say Grand Floridian, you can look up what it is to stay in different types of views, etc. So with that, let's go ahead and get started. So the first time frame is, the first season is September 1st through September 19th. And a week in a Riviera Standard Studio is going to cost you 104 points. Old Key West is 71 points. Saratoga Springs will be 78 points. Animal Kingdom Lodge is 76 points. Boulder Ridge is 97 points. Copper Creek Villas is 102 points. Boardwalk Villas is Garden View again is 102. Beach Club is 100 points. Bay Lake Tower Lake Studio is 118 points. And villas at Grand Floridian are 120 points. And then the Poly is 111 points. So that is the cheapest amount of season for a week. So that is the cheapest season for all the seasons. So it gives you an idea of where it starts. So if you are looking to stay for a week, you would need at least 71 points to stay in an Old Key West studio. And then the next up with that would be 76 points. So right now, my understanding is to buy direct, the minimum is 150 points, not only to get your benefits, so the perks, you now have to have 150 direct points unless you're grandfathered in. But my understanding is if you're buying brand new as a brand new member, my understanding, I could be wrong, is that they are requiring that you buy 150 points if you are not a member. So keep that in mind if you are looking to buy direct. So that gives you an idea of how cheap it can be. That is going to be the cheapest. Now, obviously, there's the value at Jambo House, there's the Tower Studios at Riviera, but again, those are very, very hard to get into. Even if you own there, those are hard to get into. So that's the reason why I am not including them. And let's move on to the second season. Now, the second season is the season that we typically travel in, and that is January 1st through January 31st, September 20th through September 30th, and then December 1st through December 14th. So that is season 2. So Riviera Studio Standard is going to be 116 points. An Old Key West Studio is 78 points. Saratoga Springs is 90 points. Animal Kingdom Lodge is 88 points. Boulder Ridge is 107 points. Copper Creek Villas is 107. Boardwalk Villas Garden is 107. Beach Club is also 107. Bay Lake Studio Lake is 128. And Villas at Grand Floridian is 125. And the Poly is 125. So obviously it goes up a little bit more. So if you're getting into that minimum of 150 and you are going to buy at Poly, or you want to stay at Poly, or even let's say the Riviera, 150 points is pretty much going to get you, a week and a little bit more, or maybe 2 5-night trips, or maybe not even. So depending on the season that you travel. So that's where you're getting into that, that 150 mark. I will say there is not one bedroom that is below 150. So keep that in mind, that if you're looking to stay in a 1 bedroom, I'll go in that in the next video, but there's nothing under 150 if you want to stay for a week. Okay. So let's move on to the season number 3, and that is May 1st through June 10th, and also December 15th through December 23rd. So Riviera is 123 points, Old Key West 80 points. So obviously big difference. You have 123 at Riviera and then 80 at Old Key West. So that's where we always say, like, it's a hard question to answer when you say, how many points do I want to buy? Because it really just depends on when you're traveling and where you want to stay. Saratoga Springs, 95 points. And this is again standard. So there's a big difference in certain seasons. Saratoga and Old Key West, sometimes they're really close, but in this particular season, there's a 15-point difference. Animal Kingdom Lodge is 95 points. Boulder Ridge, 114. Copper Creek, 114. Boardwalk Villas, 114. Beach Club, 114. Bay Lake Tower Studio Lakeview is 135. Villas at Grand Floridian is 132. And then the Poly is 134 points. So this is something, and by the way, these point structures are for 2022. So keep in mind, because 2021 is pretty much already booked. So this is 2022. And what we're starting to see is that the Poly is now more expensive to stay in certain seasons than it is to stay at Grand Floridian. And I think that's because they've reallocated some of the points based on the bungalows. So that is season number 3. Okay, so now we're getting into season number 4, and this is February 1st through February 15th, June 11th through August 31st, October 1st through November 22nd, or November 26th through November 30th. So there's a couple different buckets here for season 4. Riviera Studio is going to be 130 points. Old Key West, 92, really big difference there. Saratoga Springs, 102. Animal Kingdom Lodge, 100 points. Boulder Ridge, 121. Copper Creek, 121. Boardwalk, 121. Beach Club, 121. Bay Lake Tower is 137. Villas at Grand Floridian are 139. And then the Poly is 153 points. So for season 4, if you are looking to get into Poly and you don't want to get that, or you're at that 150 minimum, you already cannot get a full week at Poly during season 4 and forward. So 4, 5, 6, 7, you would not be able to get a full week at Poly. So keep that in mind as far as the minimums. But as you can see, a Poly is 153, and then the cheapest, which is Old Key West, is 92. So it's a really big difference between the 60 points. So That's why my family are very frugal. That's why we love Old Key West, because it's a great resort, very convenient, but it's also cheap on points. It's one of the reasons why we love it. Okay, let's move on to season number 5, and this one's quick. This one is April 24th through April 30th. Riviera, 146 points. So right there, you're already at that 150 minimum. You're right there. Old Key West, 106. Saratoga Springs, 106. Animal Kingdom Lodge is 114. Boulder Ridge is 130. Copper Creek is 125. So a little difference here. It's actually a little cheaper to stay at Copper Creek during this season. Boardwalk Villas is 137. Beach Club is 127. So usually they're right on track, but for this season, the Beach Club is actually a little bit cheaper to stay. Bay Lake Tower is 148. Villas at Grand Floridian is 165. And then the Poly is 167. So obviously there's already a few that you're going to be, you're not gonna be able to stay a full week if you are buying into that minimum of 150 points. Okay, next up is season number 6, and this is February 16th through February 28th, March 1st through April 9th, April 18th through April 23rd, and November 23rd through November 25th. So basically Thanksgiving. Okay, let's start with Riviera, 155 points. So right there, if you only buy the minimum, you're not gonna be able to stay in season 6 and 7 at the Riviera for a full week. Old Key West is 113 points. Saratoga Springs is 111. So this is the one, I guess 6 and 7, it's actually cheaper to stay at Saratoga Standard than it is to stay at Old Key West. So as you can see, some of the seasons change as far as where it's more expensive to stay. So it's not consistent across all the seasons. Animal Kingdom Lodge is 116. Boulder Ridge is 132. Copper Creek is 132. Boardwalk is 139. Beach Club is 134. Bay Lake Tower is 153. Villas at Grand Floridian is 174. And the Poly is 181. So that is season number 6. And then the last season, which is season number 7, and this is the one that is going to cover Easter. So this one fluctuates as far as, because Easter changes every year, but for 2022, it is April 10th through April 17th, and then December 24th through December 31st. So the Riviera is going to be 209 points. Old Key West is 162. Saratoga is 155. Animal Kingdom Lodge is 151. So right here you can see 151 is the cheapest. So if you are buying that minimum of 150, if you want to stay during either of these 2 weeks, you would not be able to stay the full week. So keep that in mind. Boulder Ridge is 186. Copper Creek is 183. Boardwalk is on 198. Beach Club is 191. Bay Lake Tower is 204 points. Villas at Grand Floridian is 234. And then the Poly is 244 points. So obviously it's the most expensive season to stay, but it is because it is the most popular. So that is it. That is the breakdown of how much it's going to cost you to stay. So now if you are thinking about buying into DVC and you ask the question, well, how many points do I need? This is why you need to download the My DVC Points app and kind of think, okay, when do we want to travel? Do we want to travel at the cheapest time of the year? Or do we want to travel during someone's birthday? Do we want to travel during summer vacation? When is it that we want to travel? Obviously spring break, Easter break, those are very expensive times. Summer used to be one of the more expensive times, but it stopped being the most popular. So the points got reallocated. And I know some people who only travel in the summer are very happy because those are now cheaper times to travel. For myself, the cheapest time when we bought in, the cheapest time to travel was the first 2 weeks of December. Well, they've reallocated. So now it's not the cheapest time, it's the second cheapest time. Still a little bit, it's still economical points wise. However, compared to what we paid as far as points in 2017, we are paying more per point. It is taking us more points to stay during that week than it did in 2017 and 2018. Not a lot. It's nothing where it affects us, but it is costing us probably a day in our trip or a day throughout the year. So keep that in mind when you're thinking about how many points you need. So there you have it. Those are the breakdown of all the points. And like I said, you can download the app and take a look. All this information is available to you, and I will put a link below where you can find it on the Disney Vacation Club website. And I will be doing this next video or the same video on 1-bedrooms. So for those families that might be looking into buying into Disney Vacation Club who need a 1-bedroom, I will be doing the same video probably in the next week or so, probably even sooner. So with that, if you like this video, click like, click and subscribe. That way you get a notification every time I post a new video. Bye everyone.